Hello friends, how are you? Hope you are doing well. So in continuation with our previous discussion, let's continue about what is the ESG risk as we discussed yesterday. ESG risk include those related to the climate change, impact mitigations and adaptations, environmental management practices and duty of care, working with the health and safety conditions, respect to the human rights, anti-bribery and anti-corruption practices, and in compliance with relevant laws and regulations. But what are the type of risk or ESG risk for the organizations? We can say environmental social governance related risk, environmental risk, social risk, governance related risk like cyber security, credit risk, regulatory risk, strategic risk, operational resilience risk, and reputational risk. So if we see the different type of risk management practices which we follow, but how does these risk management practices helping us out? So ESG data or ESG risk data, risk management data, which is helping companies to engage in effective risk management that allows management teams to plan for compliance objectives, enhanced and voluntary disclosures, and risk mitigation strategy roadmaps. So, which is addressing future threats before they are happening. We look for some examples related to the risk management framework and we go step by the approach. First of all, we establish a governance for effective risk management. Then we identify the ESG related risk, understanding the business context and strategy. Then we go for assessing and prioritizing the ESG related risk. Assessment and prioritizing. Based on the qualitative and quantitative assessments, we go for prioritization, and stakeholder engagement plays a crucial role in this assessment and prioritization. Respond to ESG related risks, and basically finding out the actions related to the ESG risk what we are identifying, and following the hierarchy of controls either to eliminate the risk or go for mitigation measures. Then we go for review and revise the ESG related risk, and finally we communicate and report ESG related risks to the different stakeholders in the organization, for the organization. So what are the different type of ESG related risk which can lead to different type of impacts to the business as well as to the stakeholders? So as we said, environmental social governance related risk, which can be either as I say reputational related, market related, business continuity related, or we can say operations related. So these are certain examples of the risk and which are associated with different materiality factors or materiality topics actually. Next is, what is the meaning of ESG due diligence? ESG due diligence is nothing but it's involving the systematic identification, quantification and assessment or evaluation of the environmental social governance related risk which is associated with any proposed transactions. So it's a kind of system verification, it's a kind of compliance verification or assessment methodology which will identify, through which we will identify the different type of environmental, social and corporate related governance related risks. What is the role of ESG due diligence? This ESG due diligence program plays a vital role in assuring fundamental controls related to the financial, operational and compliance activities which are operating effectively, and this role includes validating the effectiveness of ESG related controls and activities to help organizations managing those risks and delivering or fostering the resilience. So what is a role of any ESG professional or ESG analyst specifically? ESG analyst carries out the research using a variety of collected information, the data which is being gathered for public and private agencies, and ESG analyst may also monitor ESG issues after investment in a company. So they might contribute to reports of the performance or ESG performance. They might also improve a company's ESG impact by working with them directly. Now, what does a ESG manager is doing actually? So ESG manager is responsible for developing and overseeing the environmental, social, corporate governance policies, procedures, as well as reviewing and appraising the proposed transactions to be socially and environmentally sustainable and complying with the safeguarding policies and internationally recognized best practices. So another responsibility is like formulating the recommendations and requirements for actions and incorporate these into the applicable internal and related documentation to facilitate proper corporate governance. The role is responsible for monitoring the environmental social governance performance as well. Next responsibility is to support the management and integration of ESG into the organization's business objectives, business policies, and product development by conducting due diligence, monitoring, and reporting of the tasks related to the sustainable finance, equator principles, green bond, allocation of the proceeds. Next responsibility is assisting in the development of ESG and sustainability frameworks, guidance, process papers, and training materials as they related to the ESG risks, climate change, supporting the team in setting, monitoring, and implementing ESG, climate change, SDG commitments to ensure full adherence with all aspects and obligations. Some of the responsibilities for ESG managers are like additional examples: required to possess strong project management skills, actively supporting the management in working on business development and identifying and converting new opportunities for ESG reporting and integrated reporting, strong knowledge of integrated reporting frameworks, sustainability frameworks like GRI, TCFD, SASB, CDP, BRSR, experience of working with sustainability experts in order to support them in developing sustainability ESG reporting strategy, and most importantly, wider practice management responsibilities, which will include coaching, training, mentoring, capacity building, upskilling of the staff, their competency development, and upskilling activities. Next question is about some of the terminology which we quite frequently use in the ESG, sustainability and climate change, which is UNFCCC. So United Nations Framework on Convention on Climate Change. The UNFCCC established an international environmental treaty which is to combat the dangerous human interference with the climate system, in part by stabilizing the greenhouse gases concentrations in the atmosphere. Next is UNEP, United Nations Environmental Programme, which is about the United Nations Environment Programme, which is responsible for coordinating responses to environmental issues and the United Nations system. It was established after the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment in Stockholm in June 1972. Next is IFC. This is International Financial Corporations, which is an international financial institution that offers investment advisory, asset management services to encourage private sector development in less developed countries. So next question is about the international frameworks, global reporting frameworks. For an example, GRI. GRI is an international not-for-profit organization working in the public interest towards a sustainable global economy, where organizations manage their economic, environmental, social and governance related performance and impacts responsibly. So GRI is an international multi-stakeholder and independent non-profit organization, as I said, that promotes economic, environmental and social responsibility. And this has three different type of standards. GRI is having universal standards, sector specific standards and topic specific standards. So GRI 1, GRI 2, GRI 3, single digit standards are universal standard, double digit standards like 11, 12, 13, 14, right? So these are sector specific standards, and topic specific standards are 3-digit standards. The next example of the framework, global reporting framework, is IIRC, International Integrated Reporting Council. So which is a group of international leaders with a mission to create the integrated reporting framework. And this framework provides material information about the organizational strategy, governance, performance, and the future prospects in a concise and comparable format, a fundamental shift in the corporate reporting. So there are 4 different thematic areas where we are reporting the ESG related information: organization strategy, governance, performance, and future prospects in the IIRC. Then we have one more named standard framework, which is called TCFD, Task Force on Climate Related Financial Disclosures. So this is again a global sector specific initiative established by Financial Stability Board Task Force of Climate Related Financial Disclosures, which is a voluntary, consistent climate related financial disclosure for use by the companies in providing information to investors, lenders, insurers and other stakeholders. So TCFD considers the physical and transition risks associated with the climate change and what constitutes effectively financial disclosures across the industries. So the task force aims to develop climate related disclosures that could promote more informed investments, credit and insurance underwriting decisions, and in turn would enable stakeholders to understand better the concentrations of carbon related assets in the financial sector, the financial system's exposure to climate related risk. There are 4 different themes: governance, strategy, risk management, metrics and targets. So these are the core elements of recommended climate related financial disclosures: governance, strategy, risk management, metrics and targets. In governance, we are talking about the organizational governance around the climate related risk and opportunities. In strategy, we say the actual and potential impact of the climate related risk and opportunities on the organization, business, strategy and financial planning actually. Risk management covers the processes which are being used by the organizations to identify, assess and manage the climate related risk. And we talk about the last one, the metrics and targets, where the metrics and targets are used to evaluate and manage relevant climate related risk and opportunities. The next framework is Global Reporting Framework, which is called SASB, Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, which is again an UN non-profit US-based organization on a mission to create and disseminate accounting standards that reporting issuers can use to disclose material sustainability factors in the filings with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. SASB identifies sustainability issues. Those are likely to affect the financial condition or operating performance of the companies within an industry through a materiality map, which details 26 sustainability issues across different sectors, 10 different sectors actually. CDP is again one more global reporting framework where we say Climate Disclosure Project, CDP, previously it was called Carbon Disclosure Project, which is a global not-for-profit organization founded in 2000 and headquartered in London. So CDP requests standardized climate change, water, forest related information from the world's largest listed companies through annual questionnaires sent on behalf of the institutional investors and then endorse them as CDP signatories. So in CDP disclosure program, what are the considerations? So we talk about life cycle analysis, accurate information, automated system, verified information, SBTi targets, scenario planning and reporting processes. So these are the important considerations for CDP disclosure program actually. There is one more international reporting framework, global reporting framework is United Nations Global Compact, UNGC, which is again a strategic policy initiative for businesses that are committed to aligning their operations and strategies with 10 universally accepted principles, 10 different principles across the 4 different areas, core areas of human rights, labor, environment and anti-corruption. And the business participants are expected to publicly report on their progress in an annual communication on progress. So what are those themes? Core areas: human rights, labor, environment and anti-corruptions. So and another global sector specific initiative which is about principles of responsible investment, UNPRI, is an international network of investors working together to put the 6 different principles into the practice. And as we have discussed earlier, its goal is to understand the implications of sustainability for investors and support those signatories to incorporate these issues into their investment decision making and ownership practices. So 6 different principles for UNPRI. There is one more global sector specific initiative is called Equator Principles, which is a risk management based framework adopted by the financial institutions to determine and assess and manage environmental and social risks in project finance. The IFC developed a set of standards and principles on social and environmental sustainability intended to provide a minimum standard of due diligence to support responsible risk decision making. So we call different 10 principles for equity principles like review and categorization, social and environmental assessment, applicable social and environmental standards, action plan and management system, consultation and disclosure. We need to have grievance mechanism, then independent review from third parties, covenants and independent monitoring and reporting, and EPFI implementation reporting. So these are the 10 different principles of equity principles. Next is about one more global sector specific initiative, which is about UNEPFI, United Nations Environmental Programme Financial Initiative, which is again a partnership between the UNEP and the global financial sector, created in the wake of 1992 Earth Summit with a mission to promote the sustainable finance sector. We have some international standards also being practiced for ESG and sustainability and climate change. Let's start with some of the examples. ISO 14001, which is again an international standard that specifies the requirements for an effective environmental management system, and it provides a framework that an organization can follow rather than establishing environmental performance requirements. And next is about SA 8000, Social Accountability Standard for 8000. It's an auditable certification standard that encourages the organization to develop, maintain and apply socially acceptable practices in the workplace. So SA 8000's criteria were developed from various industries and corporate codes to create a common standard for social welfare compliances. Next international standard is about ISO 14064 and 2006 specification is specifying the principles and requirements at the organization level for quantification and reporting of the greenhouse gases and their emissions and the removals. It includes the requirement for the design, development, management, reporting and verification of an organizational GHG inventory. Next is ISO 26000, which is intended to assist the organizations in contributing to the sustainable development. It's intended to encourage them to go beyond the legal compliance, recognizing that compliance with the law is a fundamental duty of any organization and essential part for their social responsibility. Thank you very much for the now. In next discussion, we'll meet very soon. Thank you.